Hi, I'm Neil Anderson, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I started my first jobs out of school were in landscaping and construction, and after a couple of years of that, I decided that's not what I wanted to do with my life. I ended up getting on with a company where I learned about wiring harnesses and manufacturing them for companies like Intel and quite a few other companies around the Portland metropolitan area and even up in Seattle. From there, I learned drafting from the owner's boss. I was pretty natural with artistic side of me, so they could they liked what I did in the shop, so they wanted to see what I could do there with a little pushing on my own. I learned AutoCAD light and was doing schematics and drawings for Intel on wiring harnesses for about 8 years. I had another customer from another company contact me, and I went on a trip with him and helped him install some infrared cameras and night vision on a large yacht in Fort Lauderdale over a course of 3 days. And he liked me so much, he offered me a big raise to come work for him, where I spent the next 2 years installing infrared cameras and night vision with tracking systems and working with integrate engineers to integrate the slaving of the camera down to the captain. So from there, his company went out of business, and his dad needed some more drafters. So I had experience. I took some SolidWorks classes, did some solid modeling, and became a drafter, solid modeler for a company called Oregonero in Scappoose. I did so many different engineering type activities there. I probably can't think of all of them, but my boss was a had a doctorate in engineering and was also a member of the FAA. He did side work for them, and he taught me a lot of things. I built my own load cells. I wired up seats with strain gauges to LabVIEW, took readings so I could give the measurements to the engineers when I pulled them apart, when I pulled the seats apart with the hydraulics to simulate wind gusts in an airplane. I ran a static test machine that had 10,000 pound load cells on it where I could rip apart materials and designs the engineers created to see breaking point, failure points, to help them give an idea of how a seat would handle a crash, because the seats then had to be taken to Wisconsin and run down a sled, and just like you see with the car videos. So they wanted to make sure they had it right before they got there. And there's a lot of times where you run them down the sled and you think it's going to be perfect and it's not. So all the work I did helped them get there with a few design choices they could work through and see what worked the best. Uh, a friend of mine, after about 7 years working at Oregon Aero, had kept bugging me to come work at Boeing, come work at Boeing. So 6 years ago, I got a job at Boeing, and I've been working there with engineers. If you saw my first video, you'd see that I talked a little bit more about that. The thing I love about Boeing is they will pay for your education as long as it's related in some way to the airline industry, and I'm telling you, everything relates to the airline industry. Uh, they pay for up to, I think, $15,000 a year or something like that, and reimburse you for books. It's just the course fees that you have to pay for, so it's a really good deal. I decided I had some classes back when I first got out of high school, and I never really did anything with it, so I went back to school and just have been pecking away a couple classes at a time to see if I end up with an engineering degree. I'm 49 years old, so whether I'm going to use it for a job, I don't know, but I really enjoy engineering and everything I've learned so far with it. So why not take the classes? They're free, and who knows? Anyhow, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.